There's a way I think you could look at Alabama's win last night at Mississippi State. Now, listen to me here. I think there's a way you can look at this last night that was their most impressive win to date.
All right, sell me on that one.
You can make the argument that's their most impressive win to date in that environment, coming off of everything that has gone on recently with the program. Sears having to come back and step up in a big way. He was a giver early in that contest before he hit that first three with 5:36 going in the half. A really good Mississippi State team that is long and physical, and you had a historic night from Josh Hubbard, who was just on fire, hitting everything. I'm going to put that, to me, as Alabama's most impressive win of the season.
Well, I'm not going to necessarily disagree with you because I thought Alabama, some of the timely shots they hit, back to it, Hubbard, their leading scorer, averaging a little over 16 per game, going for 38 in that environment. Every time Mississippi State would seem to take a little bit of a lead and maybe they were going to get a crack, Bama would make a huge shot. So I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, Bama 15 of 31 behind the arc. That's exactly what. I mean, if you can hit, in the teens on threes, Alabama's a really, really difficult out. So I don't have a problem with that argument at all. I thought it was a really, really impressive win. And if you're Mississippi State, damn, they did everything they could outside of miss a couple of free throws, but Alabama was equally bad from the strike.
Oh. I mean, when you let a guy go for 38, it feels like an interesting argument to say it's your what'd you call it? Your most
impressive win. I didn't say it was their best effort.
I get it.
Yeah,
most impressive win. Yeah, and then Nate Oats, was very frustrated by the fact that Hubbard went for 38, and he's like, listen, we tried everybody we could on him. He said, I'll give Youngblood credit. He came to me and said, let me try him. And he said he probably did as well on him as anybody did. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. It's the best true road opponent Alabama has beaten.
They've got 3 AP top 15 road wins this year.
So
Texas A&M was one. That was an impressive win, hard-fought game.
Yeah.
A&M a little bit different from when Alabama played them, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Purdue is Alabama's best true road opponent, but they lost that game.
Yeah.
The Kentucky win was...
That's a very good win.
Was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Kentucky's better than State. Especially playing up there, yeah.
I would lean Kentucky, I guess. But, Hubbard to go for 38.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky's 18 and the KenPom State's 24, so they're very, very close.
I'm just telling you, the way Penn State plays, Texas A&M didn't have their best player in that game, if you'll remember, right?
Wade Taylor IV.
Wade Taylor IV didn't play in that game. Kentucky winning at Rupp is always historic, but... Mississippi State is more physical than Kentucky is. Josh Hubbard was on fire last night, and it's just Chris James' defense. That second half, he made that adjustment. Alabama scored 44 in the first half.
Yep.
And by the way, shot they didn't hit them all. Shot 19 3-pointers, hit 7 of them, but shot 19 3-pointers, which is much more Nate's style than they've been more at the rim than they have been shooting threes this year, and they got that looked like the way Nate likes to play last night because they couldn't get to the rim like they had against some people, like they did against Kentucky.
I think the biggest storyline really coming out of that game was Chris Youngblood. We talked to Nate Oats about whether or not he was going to be a starter moving forward. He obviously gets second start last night, but 30 minutes. Dude hit 7 threes, which was a career high, and goes for 23 points. And he is, both sides of the court. This guy can be a lockdown defender. Now he's showing that he can, log in quality minutes and be an offensive option as well.
And has the ego that he wants it. He wants the shot.
How good is Youngblood going to be? I mean, how much upside? Because, Nate was talking about him about a month ago, and he was just getting his sea legs back.
That's right.
But this guy is... people worried about Wrightsell going out. I don't think you lose much from Wrightsell to Youngblood.
You want some of the audience reaction on this?
Yeah, but imagine if Wrightsell was still
the reason I say that is because Landmine Believer said exactly what you just said. I didn't know you were about to say that, but we're doing this without Wrightsell, we being Alabama. Obviously, he's a Bama fan. Massive loss that isn't mentioned enough, and I was reading it right as you mentioned it, which is funny. That would be like taking Miles Kelly away from Auburn. That's probably a pretty good comparison. What Miles Kelly has become. Wrightsell was Alabama's best three-point shooter.
I know. I mean, is that Todd Pettiford at Auburn?
I think Pettiford would be more. You would compare him more to LeBaron Philon, I would say. Yeah, I guess that's just because of the age or whatever.
Apples and oranges.
Yeah, I just wonder if Wrightsell was still, available. How much Amore just it's kind of a weird fit.
Yeah,
but you just wonder if they would go smaller.
Well, at the end, they went bigger, because they brought in Stevenson and put Sears on the bench.
Let's just talk about that for a second. Okay, you're at the free throw line. Right, and you see the defensive specialists and the coaching staff get together, and they make a defensive substitution in between Grant's missed free throws. Misses one defensive substitution, they substitute in, and he misses the second one, but it's that substitution that gets Dioubate in the game that gets the rebound off of the missed free throw that basically saves the game.
What a gut feeling by Oats to do it at that time, right? And you basically leave only Youngblood in there as a true – Nelson can handle the ball, but Youngblood's your true guard in there. You're down to one guard in the game. You have gone big, and don't have a ton of ball handlers in there, and don't necessarily have a ton of great free throw shooters in there.
That was arguably the moment of the game, Diabate's offensive rebound.
Yeah.
And the missed bunny at the other end that everyone says Cliff in the replay, Cliff gets a little block, and I think Nate said afterwards that Cliff got the block too. A little piece of it to disrupt that little, with about 30 seconds left, that one that was going to put Mississippi State up. That was a big play. Let's hear from Nate. Give me cut number 3. This is from our buddies at ABC 3340. Actually made the trip over to Starkville, man. Great trip over there for that sports department. And Nate was talking to the gathered media there afterwards about just that contest. And I was up until 12:45, 1 o'clock in the morning, could not sleep. And part of it was the excitement from this game.
Wow, that was quite the game. If you like big shot making, that was a good game to be at and watch. We have Hubbard's pretty good, man. We didn't do a very good job on him, but man, he made some tough shots. We definitely made some big plays elsewhere to make up for the fact we didn't do a very good job on Hubbard, and we didn't shoot well at the free throw line. We only go 55% of the line. So, you look at the way we shot it from three. We try to recruit shooting because we're going to shoot a lot of threes, but to go 15 of 31 on a road game was huge. Chris stepped up and made some big ones. A lot of big ones late in the game, too. He goes 7 of 10. Sears goes 3 of 5. Holloway's 3 of 7. Those are our three main shooters, and they stepped up. Made 13 threes between the three of those guys. So, a lot of good plays from everybody. Huge road win against a really good team that's, obviously already won a lot of games this year. They're going to win a lot more games this year, so that win's going to go a long ways for us.
Well, Hubbard's going to make a lot of money overseas. He's never going to play in the NBA.
You already got him playing in Europe, huh?
Because of his size.
Yeah, because of his size. He might be 5'10".
But he's a scorer, man.
Yeah, he's a scorer, but he will make a lot of money. I'll tell you who's going to be good, I believe. And he's a guy that played limited minutes. He's a transfer from Miami, the Michael Noko, the center. He's got to put some weight on, but man, he is so athletic and shifty around the basket.
Easier to put weight on than grow 3 inches.
Yeah. And, he's a guy that averaged, like 8 minutes a game last year, and he still only played 18 last night, but I think he's going to end up being really good. Chris Jan's now 0-6 against Alabama. That was a great game to watch.
Yeah. It had.
And we were trying to watch it during trivia.
Yeah, we were at Odie's, and everybody was into it at Odie's. It had kind of, I don't want to say an NCAA tournament feel because those are on neutral courts. It's obviously a road game. I don't know. It just had a really cool feel to it.
Yeah.
To see. It was obvious that the game had a little gravity to it. Did you notice, and I don't think it was the TV at Odie's, did you notice like the court level shots that kind of had a smoky look in the stands? Did you notice that? Did I make that up? Like the under the basket shots, it looked like, I don't know, it just had a weird look to it.
It's a older building.
I'm not saying anything was on fire.
Some of the fans who go there call it the dump, not the hump.
Yeah.
I always think it's a great atmosphere, and they had the blackout, and I love watching games in that building. That Ole Miss Mississippi State game earlier this year was fantastic. That one was last night as well.
Is this going to be interesting with Youngblood getting more minutes with Philon? I still think Philon's got the most upside. Now, Youngblood is one of those guys that will definitely play in the league, but it seems like now that Youngblood is playing more, Philon isn't the impact. And look, it's just 2 games.
It's funny you say that. Plus minus last night, and I don't know how important that stat is, but Nate throws it out a lot.
It's like war in baseball. The basketball geeks love it.
Everybody's using it, so it must be important to the coaches.
Mo D was the second best plus minus last night. You know who the best plus minus was last night?
Let's say Philon, based on the fact that I brought it up.
LeBaron Philon. but it didn't seem like he had that kind of game. But
No, because he ended up with 5 and 2.
Yeah. But he made impacts in certain ways. And listen, the thing about CY last night, about Youngblood, it was like you guys had said earlier. It felt like, okay, Alabama's about to start to slip away a little bit from Alabama, and then boom, all of a sudden Sears finds him in the corner and gives out an assist, and he drains a 3.
Yeah, 9 assists out of Sears. By the way.
Yeah. Giving it up last night. Great stat line from
A
Sears.
lot of turnovers. That's,
more turnovers than shots.
I think he had half of Alabama's turnovers, 14 turnovers.
Yeah, he
I think
seemed a
Sears had
little
7.
jittery. He made some big shots, drew some fouls. Brown brought up the fact last night we were watching. He's like, this guy is just. I forgot who the other guard was at Alabama years ago. In the last decade, 15 years, it was so good at drawing contact around the rim.
Yeah, I mean, Sears is really good about driving in the lane and picking up a foul. He may be the best in the conference. There's got to be a stat. I'm sure there's a stat for it. I'll see if I can find it. But I would imagine nobody's drawn more fouls than Mark Sears. I mean, that guy gets them all the time.
In a physical game, when you're driving it to the hole like he does to draw contact, and they don't call it, and they're because they're letting them play at both ends of the floor. I'm not saying they were not calling it, and the officials were against Alabama. I'm just saying they were allowing it to be physical at times, like that turnover he had when he was dribbling on the corner, and that could have been a blocking foul easily, and he loses his dribble because he dribbles into the Mississippi State guy, and basically it knocks Mark off the ball, and the Mississippi State guy picks it up and dribbles the other way. That's a turnover. Off of contact.
Yeah.
And he draws a lot of contact, and sometimes his turnovers come off of contact.
Well, he was -5 in the plus-minus if you want to discuss that.
Yeah.
So you would not look at his stat line, but Nate Oats said he thought he had a great game in response. That's what Nate Oats said. So his own coach looked at things beyond you would just see in the stat line and called it great what Mark Sears did.
Well, even in the stat line, Brown, 17 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds. I think 3 of those were offensive rebounds. That's pretty good.
A lot of hustle numbers in there, right?
Here's Nate Oats, cut number 4, on what Brown's talking about on Mark Sears and in his return from the very public second half benching. It sounded like I said benching. Benching against LSU. Here's Nate Oats from ABC 30 through 40.
Obviously we don't want him turning the ball over 7 times, but I thought his effort, which is really what we've been trying to get him to really, was great. I mean, 3-0 boards. I don't know if that's a high for him. I thought 6 rebounds total to go 17, 9, and 6. If he could have got a few more rebounds and another assist, he's pushing a triple-double, which is not easy to do for a guy his size. So, I thought he made some big shots late in the shot clock that kind of bailed us out. I mean, the one lean-in, I think the lean-in 3 at the top of the key, the one over there on the left baseline. I mean, we needed every last point we could get tonight, and some of those shots he hit when probably nobody else on the team would be able to generate a bucket that late in the clock like he was able to do was big. So I was super happy with Mark's effort and performance tonight.
I take one word out of that, and he said it twice. Effort.
Yeah.
That's a little surprising, too. Like, when I watch Sears, I don't see him as not an effort guy, but obviously there is something in that one comment, the interview we had yesterday, all of the questions that he's been asked, since the LSU game, there obviously was something that he wasn't happy with Mark Sears' effort.
Sears and Youngblood scored 23 of Alabama's first 44 points. That was
pretty impressive.
On the road. Having a good start's very important.
Well, I mean, they had 40 of the 88.
Yeah.
And how about one of our?
They continued in the second half. That's what you're saying.
That is almost half.
One of our 4 downs questions: who scores more, Alabama or Auburn? I know we're about to get to Auburn.
It was
LSU.
tight. It was tight, Lance.
Came down to one point.
Yeah.
But I had Alabama. How'd I do?
I had Auburn.
You're a winner.
Yeah.
By the way,
where did I catch that ticket?
We talked about it going into the game, and Nate Oats now ties Wimp Sanderson with the most ranked AP wins of all time. 25 of them for Nate Oats against the AP ranked opponents, and Wimp Sanderson has had that record for a long time. Nate has tied that right now, so he gets an opportunity soon. There'll be another AP ranked team at least on February 15th, maybe before then. Alabama gets a chance for Nate to break that record. So it's a fun day to be an Alabama fan after that 88-84 win over Mississippi State.